My name is Emily Carter. I live in a quiet town in Illinois, and I'm currently a senior in high school. I've always been the type who keeps to herself, books, music, and dreams of a peaceful future. I never thought my last year in school would bring such a beautiful emotional connection into my life. Everything began on a bright Monday morning in early September. The summer heat was fading and the school hallways were buzzing with energy. As I walked into my classroom, I noticed a new face sitting near the window. He looked calm, focused, and a little distant from the others. His name, I later found out, was Nathan Brooks. Nathan had recently moved from another city. His dad worked in a tech firm, and they had to relocate. At first, he didn't talk much. But there was something in his eyes, a quiet confidence, a thoughtful calmness, that caught my attention. I was surprised when our teacher paired us together for a science project. I remember thinking, this is going to be interesting. We started working on our project during lunch breaks and after school. Our conversations were slow at first, just about science, school, and general topics. But slowly, we started sharing small pieces of our lives. He talked about his love for astronomy and how he liked stargazing on clear nights. I told him about my dream to become a writer and how I loved observing people quietly. The more we talked, the more I felt something shifting inside me. There was no dramatic moment, no movie-style music in the background, just a slow, genuine connection that grew with time. One afternoon, while we were in the library, I asked, "Do you miss your old school?" He paused for a second and then smiled gently. "Not really. I think I found something better here." My heart skipped a beat. That night, I couldn't sleep. I wasn't sure what this feeling was. It wasn't the usual school crush that fades after a few days. It felt real, warm, and deep. I started noticing small things, how he smiled when he was focused, how he held the door open for others, and how he always listened carefully when I spoke. Our project brought us closer. We began spending more time together, not because we had to, but because we wanted to. We laughed over silly experiments, helped each other with homework, and sometimes just sat quietly, enjoying the moment. One day, as we sat under the old oak tree behind the school, Nathan said something I'll never forget. "You know, Emily, meeting you has made this place feel like home." I looked at him, and in that moment, I realized I was falling for my classmate. Not because of some dramatic story or fairy tale magic, but because of the comfort, respect, and calm he brought into my world. Of course, we didn't talk about anything serious yet. It wasn't about rushing into anything. It was about building something slowly, with trust, honesty, and mutual care. I started writing about him in my journal, not just about how he looked, but about how he made me feel safe, understood, important. The school year was still long, and I didn't know what the future held. But deep in my heart, I knew something had already begun. Something soft, simple, and beautiful. And it all started with a science project and a seat by the window. Days turned into weeks, and my bond with Nathan grew deeper. There was something peaceful about our friendship, like it didn't need to be explained or defined. We just understood each other. We were still classmates working on a science project, but our connection went far beyond the classroom. Every morning, I would look forward to seeing him. We started sitting together during lunch, walking home part of the way, and sharing little jokes only we understood. There was no rush, just small, meaningful moments that slowly filled up my world with warmth. One chilly afternoon, while we were reviewing our notes in the school courtyard, he looked at me and said, "Emily, you're one of the kindest people I've ever met." I wasn't sure how to respond. I just smiled and said, "I could say the same about you." We sat in silence after that, a comfortable, soft silence that said more than words ever could. Around this time, I started noticing how others in our class began to see us differently. A few friends asked if we were a thing. I just laughed it off and said, "We're working on a project." But deep inside, I knew it wasn't just the project anymore. Something was growing, quiet, steady, and real. One Saturday, our school organized a cultural day. There were stalls, music, performances, and decorations everywhere. Nathan and I volunteered together to help with the science booth. After setting everything up, we had time to explore. He asked, "Want to check out the art display with me?" I nodded, and we walked through the hallway decorated with colorful student paintings. One painting caught our attention. It showed two paper boats sailing side by side on a calm lake, the sunset behind them glowing softly. Nathan said, "That's what it feels like, doesn't it? Just peaceful." I looked at him, surprised. "What does?" He smiled shyly. "Us." I felt a soft flutter in my chest. No dramatic music, no audience. Just a simple sentence that said everything I'd been feeling. From that day on, something shifted. We didn't need to talk about what we were. We just continued being us. One afternoon after school, we stayed back to clean the lab. As I reached for the top shelf, a folder slipped and nearly hit me, but Nathan caught it just in time. We both laughed at the moment. "You saved me," I joked. "Always," he replied without hesitation. Those little words stayed in my heart for days. That weekend, it rained heavily. School was closed on Monday, and I missed seeing him. I didn't realize how much I'd gotten used to his presence. On Tuesday, when we met again, we both smiled a little longer than usual. We continued writing notes to each other, short messages slipped between books or tucked inside notebooks. "You're the best part of my day. Thanks for being you." There was no need for big declarations. Everything we felt was woven into the small details. Then came the day of our project presentation. We stood in front of the class, side by side, and explained our research clearly and confidently. When it was over, our teacher praised our teamwork. "I've never seen such natural understanding between partners," she said. As we walked back to our seats, Nathan whispered, "We really make a great team." And I whispered back, "Yes, we do." Later that evening, as I wrote in my journal, I realized how much I had changed. I wasn't just the quiet girl with a love for books anymore. I was someone who had discovered a meaningful friendship, maybe something even more than that. Falling for my classmate wasn't like a story from a romance movie. It was real, it was quiet, and it was mine. And although we hadn't spoken the actual words yet, I knew. He felt it too. Winter slowly arrived, painting our town with soft fog and golden sunlight in the early mornings. School days felt quieter, cozier. Even the air seemed to slow down a little. But inside my heart, something was gently blooming. Nathan and I were closer than ever. Though we never labeled our connection, everything we did said more than words could. We began spending some weekends studying at the local library. He'd always bring hot chocolate for both of us, and I'd bring extra pens and sticky notes, knowing he always forgot his. One afternoon, as we were walking out of the library, snow began to fall, soft, gentle flakes dancing around us. Nathan looked up and said, "First snow of the season." I looked at him and smiled. "It's beautiful." He turned to me, paused, and said something quietly. "So are you." I didn't say anything right away. I didn't need to. My heart already did. A few days later, we were sitting under the big oak tree behind the school again, just like old times. This time, we weren't working on any project. Just sitting together, watching the golden leaves fall. Nathan pulled out a small folded paper from his jacket pocket. "I wrote something," he said. "It's not much, but it's about you." He handed it to me, a little shy, a little nervous. It was a simple poem, a few lines, but each word felt like a soft whisper to my heart. Not every story needs to be loud. Some grow in silence, proud, like two stars across the sky that shine brighter side by side. I looked at him and said softly, "Nathan, I don't know what to say." He smiled. "You don't have to. I just wanted you to know." That day, I realized what we had was more than just a passing feeling. It was something meaningful. Something built with care, patience, and quiet affection. We continued on like that, supporting each other through exams, sharing laughs during lunch, celebrating small victories. He came to my short story reading in English class, and I cheered for him when he won the school science quiz. Our friendship remained gentle, respectful, and strong. We still hadn't said the words, "I like you," or "I love you." We didn't need to rush. We both knew what we meant to each other. Then came the final day of school. The hallways were filled with excitement, hugs, photos, and promises of keeping in touch. Everyone was talking about colleges, future plans, and goodbyes. Nathan and I stood outside the school gate, just the two of us. "So," he said, "what happens now?" I looked at him. "We follow our dreams." "And stay in touch?" he asked. "Always," I smiled. He nodded, then took out a small notebook. "This is for you. I know you like writing. Maybe you can fill this one with our story." I held it close and said, "It already is." As we parted ways that day, there were no tears, just a warm, comforting silence. The kind that comes when two people know they'll carry each other in their hearts, no matter where life takes them. And even though high school ended, our story didn't. It simply turned a page. Because sometimes falling for your classmate doesn't mean a dramatic romance. It can be a quiet journey of friendship, trust, and slow-growing connection. And that was the most beautiful part of all.